All right, well, let's talk taxes. You've been a huge proponent of a progressive and a graduated kind of income tax here, but one of the things, to my knowledge, we still haven't heard exactly how that will look. You said that it would raise for the wealthy. Who qualifies underneath that to have increased taxes? And are you willing, as we're 2 weeks really away from the election, people are making their final decisions, to say what that actually looks like?
Well, let's talk about who's going to have their taxes lowered, because that's really the most important thing about it, and that's the middle class and those striving to get to the middle class. We want to lower their income taxes, and we want to lower property taxes for everybody. We can do that. We have a very unfair tax system. In fact, it's been called out, Illinois' tax system, as the most unfair in the nation. That's what Governor Rauner is defending, this unfair tax system. I want to change it, make it fairer, make sure middle-class families and those striving to get there have real opportunity and dollars back in their pockets. And that means making sure that the wealthiest people in the state, like Bruce Rauner and me, pay a little bit more, and that the rest of everybody pays less. You know, I want to make sure that the vast majority of people in the state get a tax break. I want to just define for you what it looks like today in the state. People who are in the middle class and those striving to get there are paying between 11.5% and 13 or 14% of their incomes in all the state tax burden that falls on them, including property taxes, sales taxes, the flat income tax. And people at the top are paying half of that. So people in the middle paying, 11, 12, people at the bottom who are paying taxes 13, 14%, people at the top paying 6 or 7%. That's just not fair. We ought to make it fairer. And we ought to change the way we fund schools in the state to lower local property taxes, and that's really the goal of our plan.
You gave the specifics on what it currently looks like, but any specifics on what your plan will look like to make it more fair? Any numbers that you've already started to think about that you would press forward?
Well, remember, the most important thing about it is making it fairer, and that means we've got to get input from the legislature, negotiate it with the legislature. And here's the critical thing, because it really does require a constitutional amendment to get this done. We're going to have to get a supermajority of the voters to support it. And in order to do that, we're going to get input from everybody to determine what the rates ought to be and what the break points ought to be at what income levels. And that's how we'll come up with the system that we need. But here, when we need to talk about, revenue for the state, we should be talking about job creation. Because, you bring jobs into the state, you attract companies to the state, help people start businesses. People are going to pay taxes when they have jobs, right? But only when they have jobs.